Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Celebrity Natal Charts. Today, we are going to be looking at the natal chart of Jason Bateman. I also want to preface the fact that, whenever I start these videos, I always find the creakiest chair that I have in the swishiest clothes that I own, and I apologize for that. So, Jason Bateman, he was born in Rye, New York, United States, January 14th, 1969 at 5:39 p.m. Birth time accuracy excellente. That's good to hear. And we're going to repeat that information one more time just so we can really know repeat exactly what I just said one more time. Jason Kent Bateman, born January 14th, 1969, is an American actor, director, producer who rose to prominence as a high-profile teen actor in the 1980s in sitcoms such as Silver Spoons, The Hogan Family, before returning in the early 2000s in the role of Michael Bluth on Arrested Development, for which he won a TV Land Award, a Golden Globe, and 2 Satellite Awards. He has since established himself in Hollywood by appearing in several films, including The Kingdom, Juno, Hancock, Up in the Air, Paul, Horrible Bosses, and Identity Theft. He is the younger brother of actress Justin Bateman. Cool. So, I've kind of felt that way. I mean, I don't know. I'm not that old, I guess. But I remember when Jason Bateman was sort of like one of the biggest names in movies for a little while. I'm sure he still is. I haven't seen any of these. I've seen Juno was a good movie. Juno was a good movie, especially for the time that it came out. But I feel like 30, 40 years from now, it's gonna look like absolutely insane. Like the girl is so lesbian coded, and then I sort of like that though. I sort of like when the movie character is sort of about the actress too, like in their heart or something, or they have like a really deep connection or correlation between their characters. I love Arrested Development, Horrible Bosses. I remember being very funny. I'm really mad that I didn't do Jennifer Aniston's natal chart when I was doing Aquarius. I was kind of bummed out about that because I think hers would be like super interesting to analyze, and I sort of know not like a lot about her, but I know of her. I was a big fan of the show Friends. But this is about Jason Bateman, who is a Sun Capricorn and a Rising Leo. So this is the Sun Capricorn Rising Leo video, Roar. Um, so Rising Leo. Rising Leo, Rising Pisces, Rising Scorpio. This is where I kind of find it to be, for lack of a better word, like pathetic in the mind of the rising Cancer, where it's like their highest priority is to be popular. And it obviously is coming from a place of privilege because with those other positionings and several other positionings that I rattled off, they don't really struggle with fame or popularity because they sort of just already have it. And I'm sure at certain points of Jason Bateman's career, he might have felt like he was struggling. As success is a cha cha, you go forward, you go backwards. But he's a teen star, so looks famous, has a look about him that people want to put him in pictures and in movies and on television. Maybe was pushed into acting from his father or was inspired by his father's side of the family. Good hair. Could be a wig, could be plugs, but good hair. Plugs, hair plugs and wigs and extensions, that's hair. Um, so good hair, handsome face. I mean, I guess because he also is like a Capricorn, so he is like he's very handsome and well put together, but he's more just like approachable, And as Capricorns are like store managers of the Megalomart or, sell propane, which I guess like to dial back to actually make this about LeBron James again. Maybe LeBron James wants to go work at Megalomart or sell propane and propane accessories. And maybe also Jason Bateman wants to sell propane and propane accessories. I think he was in a Mike Judd cartoon, like The Good Family or something. He might have voiced somebody. Um, but this is more so about his appearance. He's sort of like a Hank Hill, sort of like he has a stronger chin than the cartoon character himself. But I would say he's like the Hank Hill of like TV and acting. And then a lot of like, astrology people and King of the Hill fans assert that Hank is a Capricorn. Um, he has a second house in Virgo. So as I'm like, oh, the rising Cancer is so pathetic because they have to make it a priority to be popular or famous because, maybe they don't have very approachable looks. Maybe they're like stunningly beautiful, as water signs tend to be, or too emotionally deep. He's like very effortlessly palatable, and it could have come from his long term stint in the acting world, or it could just come from his spirit, and his soul and his heart. Um, he has a second house in Virgo, saying to me that his biggest priority is like virginity and chastity. So, being a teen actor in the 80s, it's like, this is the time of like don't ask, don't tell. Like I was saying with like Juno and things like that. So it's like really couldn't be gay if you wanted to be gay, couldn't be bisexual if you wanted to be bisexual because in the acting, I think I talked about this in other videos, like in the acting world and in the world of media, things like that lower your distribution. So, if Juno was this like huge LGBTQ movie where it's like the Michael Cera character who was obviously gay, and they talked more about that and more that made that more of a theme, it wouldn't be able to be played at certain times of the day or played in certain countries. So that's something that he deals with around his reputation being a Capricorn is like not being too sexually salacious. It'll bring him more money. So it's like and think about the Michael Bluth character. So it's like the more blazers he wears, the more he tucks his pants in, or shirt, tucks his pants in, tucks his shirt into his pants. I'm talking about RuPaul now. Tucks his shirt into his pants. Um, the more money he'll have, the more stability he'll have. It's like that's his looking like a Virgo, dressing like J. Crew and The Gap. That's his look. That's his cash cow. That brings the most money. He's an actor. It don't take much, right? Whereas like if he had Taurus in the second house, very good positioning. But Taurus in the second house, maybe from dressing like a cowboy, being Woody in a live action Toy Story movie, which is kind of redundant, but how great would that be in Toy Story if it was all like CGI or whatever, and then like when they would animate and come to life, they were humans? I don't know. It'd be interesting to look at. I don't know if it's like a good plot line or nothing, or anything or nothing like that. And then also Virgo in the second house, like maybe might start a school or an acting school or like a charm school, or it might, how like Monique Parker had that like swag school, or I don't know, the VH1 show. Um, a lot of these charts have been like, you know, there's been a lot of energy about like Flavor Flav and like VH1 and like celebrity dating shows. He also has the planet of Pluto in Virgo as well in his second house. Pluto, it's really hard for me to not see Pluto of the planet of like death and dying. Um, but it's the planet of change. So his ability to change and pivot and take a new direction is also very vital to him. I guess there's also things where he might like spin around backwards, like a rewinding videotape. And that also might be very difficult as well as an actor or actress to move on to the past as people are playing like reruns of your productions, and you constantly have to see yourself when you were younger, and you have to compare yourself, especially like being on Silver Spoons and Hogan's Family. It's like you're constantly comparing your current image to that of when you were a child. And Virgo is sort of my go-to like when I see Virgo, I'm like, oh, Peter Pan complex, doesn't want to grow up, which is his cash cow. So, like if he were to do a remake of Silver Spoons or relaunch Hogan's Family on Netflix, it would probably be very emotionally triggering to him, as he's probably lost a lot of the people that used to work on those productions with him. But um, it would make him a lot of money. And his third house is in Libra, so he's a very beautiful voice. I mean, he's the narrator of that show. Like as I was reading his bio, I was sort of hearing like the narration from Arrested Development. It's like what George Michael didn't know is, maybe is super weird. And there's a banana shack for some reason, and that is funny because bananas look like phalluses. And I love that show. And he also has Jupiter in Libra and Uranus in Libra as well. So his voice brings him boundless good luck and fortune and balance into his life. Um, Libra, Jupiter and Libra, like his relationships, he will probably like marry very well. Whoever he marries will probably love him very much or be very wealthy, or just be just as or be just as beautiful as a speaker or sanger as he is. That's my favorite way to say that word nowadays. And let's see, Jupiter and Libra, and then we said he also has Uranus in Libra. So, uh, Uranus retrograde in Libra, Jupiter in Libra. It sort of does talk about like being, we call it like rebooted, being rewound. He was on TV Land, so like reruns, talking about reruns. Maybe he feels like reruns are bad or whatever. Because I mean, like I've never seen the Hogan Family, so if TV Land were to start playing that, it would make me a fan. But perhaps there'd be more money and like re-release. Like I miss VHSs and DVDs. I miss like buying things and giving people gifts. Because now it's like very like insane to do that. Um, but because it's like if the Hogan Family was like a completely obscure TV show, you could probably sell it for like $100 a season because it's rare, like or a tape or something, and maybe that's something he thought would happen with those products and with those. Maybe the residuals aren't great residuals, so reruns, reworks, reboots, residuals. Maybe they're not amazing. Or with Jupiter and Libra, maybe he was able to negotiate a good contract where he does get good residuals from certain projects that he worked on. Okay. And then his fourth house is in Scorpio, where I believe he also has a sign of Mars, which seems aggressive. Um, to have a fourth house Scorpio and also Mars and 8 degrees of Scorpio too, 8 being a Scorpion number. So he's like very. Oh, and we also have Neptune in Scorpio as well. So he's like very vengeful and spiteful. He might have like some type of a lot of aggression and anger towards his mother. Perhaps his mother tried to elude, evade, and delude him, emotionally abuse him, be emotionally abusive, or just like very aggressive with him for whatever reason. Might have like hit him a little too hard, or was like too hard on him. I mean, like, I don't know how many brothers and sisters he has, but it's like, oh, famous kid, take care of the whole family, famous kid. Um, but then also, so, as I'm saying, his father might have been like very inspirational towards him, to being on television or being an actor or to being popular or famous. So it's like, his father could have been a politician. He could have, his father could have been an electrician, but like, because he has a business, he focuses on his reputation and things like that. Like I said, Megalomart. I need to look up something else because I know he has some connection to Mike Judd somewhere. Um, but who hasn't been on King of the Hill? So he might have just been a character on there once or twice. But his mother, with the fourth house in Scorpio, says that for whatever reason, whether it's because she acted like mommy dearest or not, uh, is the reason why he's on television. So father inspirational, mother might have like drove him to the studio and yelled at him the entire way. 4, 5, and then his fifth house is in Sagittarius. Uh, I say in every single last one of these videos that Sagittarius is, or the fifth house is the positioning of like sexy distractions. So it's kind of like a celestial honeypot, like what gets in your way of accomplishing your goals. Like a pot, like a cartoon pie sitting on a window that just like drifts you off with its smell. And for that, for him, it is Sagittarius. So he gets caught up into competitions. So he probably has like a lot of road rage issues. Like, oh, I'm going faster than you. I passed you. I'm better than you. That type of energy makes him very emotional, very sad. And especially as an actor, where there's so much like rejection and auditioning and balancing of the ego and people trying to attack your ego, where it's like, oh, it's Thursday, it's 5 o'clock. Let's ask Jason Bateman to audition as the Grinch, paint his face green, record him, knowing that we've already casted Jim Carrey, and just make fun of him for like 7 hours. And you have to be like, okay, like, is this audition an audition because they want the product to be good, or are they trying to humiliate me? And I think that's like a conversation that he has with himself, especially like being so successful, being so approachable, being so kind and nice. It's like, are they trying to help me, or are they just trying to throw eggs at me? Um, and then in his sixth, so how does he get? So this is also like very emotional about it. It stirs up his emotion. It stirs up his emotions. Um, because he has the moon in Sagittarius as well. So the moon in Sagittarius is like a very like I haven't really seen this positioning a lot. Um, and it sort of seems like weird to me. It's like, oh, I can be more sad than you, but as a actor, or I guess his in his discography, what do you call it? I don't know, bibliography, whatever, in his bio. It doesn't seem to be a lot of like soap operas or sad movies. But maybe later in life, maybe earlier in his life, um, there's like this competition with like emotions and sadness. So like soap operas. So maybe he felt like the sitcoms he was working on were in direct competition with soap operas, and maybe he's like, I can be more emotional than you. And then also the moon and emotions aren't necessarily always sadness. It could be like joy or happiness or another emotion. And being an actor, it's like having to compete with other people to portray these emotions. So he might have gone through a lot of like humiliating, not humiliating, but just like really weird theater stuff. And like, okay, Eugene Levy, Jim Carrey, come here, come forward, cry. You know, you just won the lottery, scream. Like, give me joy, give me sadness, give me anger. Uh, where he's like, I don't know, like he might get older and might get dementia, and it might be really funny. About like how he's competitive around feelings and emotions. And in his sixth house, so how does he get over this? Is his reputation. So if he has a Mel Gibson moment, an emotional breakdown, his sturdy, sterling reputation as a sturdy Capricorn, is what helps and heals him. He would, could, should work in management. So as he gets older, as he gets older, in the roles that he's already played, he might be a suit one day. He might be in the show Suits one day. They might reboot Suits, and he might be in it. He might have already had a cameo, and I don't know because I don't watch that show. Um, and at his soul, he does want to heal people, so he might choose projects to work on that are uplifting. And Horrible Bosses, I think, is a very healing movie because it talks about like bad managers. Juno, I think, has a lot of like healing vibrations in it with like, teens and sexuality and like growing up. Hancock, I don't remember him in Hancock, but I think Hancock is that Will Smith movie, where he's like a average sort of like superhero type of guy. Um, so I've never seen Silver Spoons. I've never seen Hogan's Family. Arrested Development. I thought it was funny. So I think like he tries to choose projects that don't corrupt his soul. So like if he's a vegetarian, he probably wants like the character he's playing to be vegetarian as well, just because like his moral code. And that's his sixth house. Virgo's. So Virgo is the sign that is ruled by the sixth house. I would say do have a tendency to actually be vegetarian, to actually be vegan earnestly, because of the pains that they feel in their stomach. Um, Whereas like Taurus tend to they lie about their diets. So they lie about being vegetarians like Morrissey. And then I would say that Capricorns, it's something that they flirt with or entertain. So if he has like a lot of emotional imbalances, it could be like in relationship to his diet. And if he's not a vegetarian, he might like want to try adding more vegetables to his diet. Because as I say, that Capricorn is the booty sign. So he might have like indigestion problems, as my stomach has been growling through both these videos, and I'm not hungry at all. So we'll figure out what that's about. In his seventh house, he has the sign of Aquarius and the planet of Mercury. So a lot of people, he has a microphone that is heard all the way across the world, and I think it is called television. So a lot of people have heard his voice. A lot of people are attracted to him because of his voice and his message. Um, and like I was saying, he's the narrator of Arrested Development. So and maybe it's been a long time since I've watched Arrested Development. I don't know if there's like little happy story, what do you call it, morals to the stories that he tells, or they just kind of like play on that, or if that narration is a play on Silver Spoons or Hogan's Family. But people really like his voice. They're very attracted to it. A very good partner for him would be somebody who's born with a sun in Aquarius, um, who is awkward and uncomfortable and not popular. So I was talking about like Justin Timberlake and Jim Carrey, and I was like, oh, it says in their chart, may not be true about themselves, but it says in their chart to me, that they would rather, for lack of a better word, sleep with the help. For Mr. Jason Bateman, it says to me that he would just rather be with someone who's not as popular as him, because it's uncomfortable, especially when like your money is directly related to how relevant and popular you are. It's like I can't be sitting here next to, freaking, you know, uh, I don't know, like some super Megan Fox, like Megan Fox after she just did like 20 great movies or something, just won an Oscar, and you're just like, and how horrible is that? You know what I mean? Like you're an actor or an actress, your spouse is an actor and actress. They're just like sweeping the Oscars and on talk shows, and you're just sitting there twirling your thumbs, like hoping to get an audition, saying things like hoping. So that can't feel great. And that also probably talks about like the moon in Sagittarius, the fifth house, where it's like there's a lot of emotions around competition and awards. Uh, and I guess for whatever reason, Mercury, seventh house, whoever he dates should speak the same language as him. I mean, that kind of seems very, should go without saying, but or maybe like have the same, like speak English, like they should have English as a first language, because maybe he isn't very um, patient with people who don't. Um, and then in his eighth house, he has the sign, the eighth house. His eighth house is Pisces. He also has the planet Venus. I'm super not jealous, but like if I could change anything in my chart, I would want to have Venus and Pisces because Venus and Pisces are some of the like most sweet, most beautiful people on the planet. They're so cute. I think I say this about like Zayn Malik or someone else in some other video. I'm like they're just like real cute and they're like I think at one point in time like Venus was Pisces ruling planet because Venus is a very Pisces planet where it's like soft baby colors, like baby blue and baby pink and pale yellow and pale green and calm and serene. A lot like Jason Bateman's voice in Arrested Development. Just like very calming and reassuring. They're very, like I said, like very cute. They're very cute. I don't really see, I mean, he's kind of a little bit older. I don't really see the Venus in Pisces softness in his eyes. Like they usually have like big doe eyes, like a little bunny rabbit. But also Pisces are also known for having huge, wide, blue eyes that are very compassionate. So maybe his, just whatever. I haven't seen him in person yet, so I don't know. But also with that being in the eighth house, it's like very much gives me this energy. Like I say, Pisces TV evangelist, Tammy Faye Baker, crying for the Lord. Um, so it's almost like Venus and Pisces in the eighth house. It's like the Sarah McLachlan video commercials with like the arms of the angels, like the puppy dogs. And instead of puppy dogs, it's like Jason Bateman looking at you crying, like, please give money to these dogs or somebody or save the whales, like, please. And you're like, oh my God, yes, anything you say, Jason. Anything you say. Because as Scorpio is the sign of sex, death, and taxes, and occultism and magic and charity and Catholicism. It's also the sign of like mind control and hypnosis, you know? So it's like he has this power to just like melt people's hearts with just like a simple look in his eyes. And it might be something that he's been working on as an actor, like trying to use certain facial expressions to be like, please tune in next week, you know? It doesn't matter. Like, this video is almost over, but I really wish that I had, for some reason, I want to watch Silver Spoons into the Hogan family because I feel like a lot of his chart has to do with whatever's going on in those shows. As I was saying that, like, Danny Elfman, I don't know her name, Juno from Juno, Helen something, Helen Page, something. As I was saying, that her portrayal of that character, I feel like, is very deeply attached to who she is as a person, especially eventually being like trans, or having always been trans. So it's like if there was like a pre-trans woman in high school who got, knocked up by her gay best friend who was on track, who was a track runner. It's like there's so many codings, you know what I mean? And it's like that people ignore in real life, and it's like people who run track are gay, and and how she goes about it, and how like flippant she is about putting the baby up for adoption, and is like doesn't seem to have like a lot of qualms or quarrels about it. I feel like whatever was going on in Silver Spoons in the Hogan family, like I think he I mean, I don't even know how old he was. He could have been like a baby in a basket, but he reacts very similarly to how, so like if watching Hogan Hero and he has a surprise birthday party, whatever expression comes across his face and whatever energy that he exudes as a rising Leo actor would be very authentic to himself and how he would respond. So, you know, um, like if I came home from a busy day at work and there was like 20 people in my living room, like, surprise, happy birthday, I'd be like, oh my God, get out of my house. Just get out, leave the cake, get out. Like I'm trying to go to sleep, had a real rough day. Um, so if that's how he would react in his soul and his core as a like miserable little Capricorn, uh, that's how his that's how he would portray it on TV and film, or vice versa. He's like, oh, my favorite people, have a slice of cake, happy birthday to me, love that for me. Um, so there's that, and that was about his eighth house in Pisces, I believe. And moving on to his ninth house. So the ninth house, I guess, for also for actors, can be like a very challenging house or energy to deal with. He also has his ninth house in Aries, where he also has the planet of Saturn, the comet of Chiron in his north node. So the ninth house in Aries talks about like a militarized education to me, like receiving educational benefits from the government, or that maybe the Hogan's family or Silver Spoons or Arrested Development was like government propaganda. And maybe that's why it's so successful. Who knows? Maybe Juno is government propaganda or gay propaganda or labeled as gay propaganda in certain countries. Um, so that's sort of like confusing to me. And, obviously, you know, these astro theme or astro charts bios, they'll tell you, six of the movies that he's in and how much LeBron James weighs, but not what college they went to, which is fine. Um, so it's like a militarized education. Saturn, a lot of like I said, like a lot of limitations with his ability to like probably go to college and to succeed. Where he also has Chiron in the ninth house. So, it's like maybe when he was 18, he couldn't really go to college because he was already famous or couldn't afford it because maybe the residual checks from those shows weren't really kicking in as great as they should have been. Whereas now, he might be helping other people go to college or have some type or be contributing to some type of, philanthropic cause that helps people afford school. Aries in the ninth house. Where is Aries? Aries is like England, I guess, in Europe. So like a very European education. If he goes on vacation, he might prefer specifically to go to Europe. That might be like his favorite place to travel. I also sort of see Aries energy in like northern South America, like Peru and places like that, or like Scotland, Ireland, things with that type of vibe. So I guess if he were to go to the Caribbean, he might like specifically choose to go to Jamaica or places where they speak English, you know, just like out of like lack of confusion or lack of education. Um, and so it's sort of his destiny too. Like, I don't know, like he might like have a new role in some movie or television show where he's like very angry or he plays a president or some type of political leader that is very good for him and his life. And in Mr. Jason Bateman's 10th house, we have the sign of Taurus. So it's sort of his destiny to maybe even own the rights to all of his movies and television shows or production company. And especially with being a Capricorn, Capricorn being the sign that is ruled by the 10th house of reputation and career and destiny. It is his destiny to own. So he like um, in 2025, if this is not the case, Arrested Development, it is his destiny and life's goal to own his home and to own his car and to not be a renter and to take ownership of his relationships and ownership of his projects. I get this feeling like a lot of like actors or actresses or production companies, like you're gonna see a lot more like boutique streaming services, maybe even outside of like HBO Go, where it's like uh, you know, Mel Gibson Go. It's like you can watch all the Mel Gibson movies here. You pay $30 a month. It goes straight to his pocket. Something like that. Like he's like trying to take ownership of his life and his destiny. And then as an 11th house, he has the sign of Gemini. So that says he's like very friendly with his family or his friends. He has a lot of peers and people that look like him, that are similar to him, that probably in Rye, New York somewhere, that bring him a lot of joy and happiness, that help him out with technology and communication. He himself, 10th house in Taurus, might be somewhat of a Luddite and might not adapt to new technologies very well. Media hasn't been adapting to to new technologies very well. To think about a movie like Juno and the time that it came out, that was still a time where people were buying DVDs like, oh, I have a lesbian daughter or a lesbian niece. Like, let me buy her this movie Juno so that, for Christmas, so that she feels loved by me, that I'm thinking about her, and that I can give them a gift. I can also teach them a lesson and make them feel less lonely in the world. It's like, hey, or like, I have a cousin who is currently a teen mom or is pregnant or something. Like, let me buy them Juno. Or I have a teen cousin who I don't want them to be a teen mom and to be pregnant, so let me buy the movie Juno to show them like the story of a girl who is pregnant, and maybe didn't want to be. Uh, Whereas now, you can't even take that cousin to Blockbuster movie. After COVID, it's like, does anybody really want to go to the movie theaters? Would they not just rather have movies premiere on YouTube and watch it at home in the safety and comfort of their home? And that's the 11th house in Gemini. And then I guess like the 11th house in Gemini also could possibly talk about him going into like amphitheaters and having like wanting to do like more plays and Broadway, things that can't be recorded and things that can't that it's like, if you want to see Jason Bateman in Hamlet, you got to go to, England and watch him at that famous the Shakespeare Theater or something. I don't know. Trying to be fancy. I don't remember the names of anything. Um, to watch him in that performance, and there's no taking any money from him. There's no worry about residuals because like he's just getting paid for the night. Okay, and then so his 12th house of Cancer, which is sort of interesting. I mean, I guess it's not that interesting because like just sort of relative. As I think I started this video calling people with rising Cancer pathetic, about them trying to make being famous a priority, and it's like it's your position in life. It's not. Um, you're a rising Cancer and your favorite fruit is raspberries, and all the little kids on the playground are like, ew, raspberries, a little like measle looking fruit, like absolutely not. And it's like, oh no, I don't like raspberries. I meant to say that my favorite fruit is oranges or strawberries. Okay, well that's more palatable, that's more popular, we like you now, rising Cancer. Whereas like Leo is like, my favorite fruit is the apple, and I eat one a day to keep the dentist away. And look at my shiny pearly teeth, and I look like an actor. I look like a famous person. And I don't have to perform. I just naturally perform. I naturally pose. I naturally have good expressive facial expressions that I don't have to work on or practice in the mirror. Um, where, but so even with that, for the rising Leo, people with sun Cancer or heavy Cancer energies in their charts could potentially make him miserable in the sense that like one day there might be some unapologetic Cancer who's like, I love blackberries. Blackberries are my favorite phone. Blackberries are my favorite fruit. I love blackberries. I love raspberries, and I don't care what the kids on the playground say. And that energy of being unapologetically themselves and honest and caring and loving and nurturing like a mother, which, according to my analysis of a chart, he has issues with, um, could make him miserable. So, he might not have a great relationship with his mother, and somebody comes around and like, oh, me and my mom, we went shopping and, we got our nails done and we're so happy. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to internalize that and go in my trailer and cry uh, as I think about my own mom, as that has made me miserable. And that's the 12th house. So it's sort of like an energy like that. But I don't think it's like that much of a hindrance to his life. Having Cancer in the 12th house, I think, is actually a pretty good place to have Cancer, as the 12th house is a water house. Or, like I said, I think of like Pisces and Neptune as being like more like vapor or energy or light or like psychic telepathic waves more so than water, like physical wet water. And yeah, so it just talks more about his mom making him miserable, and uh, yeah, and that's Jason Bateman, miserable, miserable mommy. Or like, he might actually be like, when he's actually like sad and like he might act like a TV character. You know what I mean? Like, sees a monster and he's like, "Oh, I want my mommy." Like he like says like hokey pokey things from television because he was raised acting on hokey pokey television shows. And the thing is, like, I've never seen Hogan's Family. I just keep saying it. I've never seen Hogan's Family. I've never seen any of their work. I've never seen Hogan's Family. I've never seen Silver Spoons. But I do get this like Alf vibe, which because that's like probably one of the only shows from that kind of generation or era that I'm familiar with. And there's a lot of like good little lessons, bad jokes about him eating cats that like probably don't age very well. Or didn't age very well. I have seen Arrested Development, loved Arrested Development. Um, but maybe there's like certain episodes of those shows that like make him very upset because of what was going on in the background of those episodes, um, or just like the plot lines as well. And and that's also another reason why I used to love DVDs, especially with comedy and comedic movies and television shows. Although I'm saying like Jason Bateman's early career probably made him miserable, is because it's like you almost got like a whole other perspective or a second movie. Like if you're watching Austin Powers, and you're watching the DVD and you're watching the director's commentary and they're like sitting in a room and making jokes. It's almost like Rocky Horror Picture Show where like there's like extra esoteric jokes that only you know because you got to experience this. So I feel like this whole celebrity natal chart thing is about how I miss blockbusters and how I miss DVDs. Because they didn't have, whatever. They also used to have like video games on DVDs, like interactive, like trivia and things that keep you entertained and the family. And then DVDs got so cheap they started sending them in pizzas, which pizza is sort of insane. Like it's like $40 for like a smashed piece of bread with like two slices of cheese on it. But hey, sometimes it would come with Bill and Ted. So what are you gonna do? But so supposedly, as I've been finding it very difficult to space out and rationalize lunar or Chinese zodiac signs for people with the sign of Capricorn, I have come to the conclusion, as I don't have a second chart for Mr. Bateman that I have collected that's on hand right now, to confirm or whatever his Chinese sign, but I surmise that he was born in the year of the rooster, and if he wasn't born in the year of the rooster, right before or after. So if he's not born in the year of the rooster, my apologies, my bad. Um, Nobody's perfect, and but so 1969 is the year of the rooster. So he probably is whatever comes before rooster, which I believe is like monkey. Um, so 1969 is the year of the rooster. Some say that people born in the year of the rooster are hardworking, shrewd, and confident. They may also be known for being meticulous, flamboyant, and colorful. However, they can also be stubborn, overly critical, and resistant to change. So even if he wasn't born in the year of the rooster, he would probably have gone to school with a lot of people who were, or maybe not because he was a child actor. Roosters, like I keep saying, like, third house in Libra, I believe he has. I was also going to do Benjamin Franklin's chart. That's something I want to just talk about. Yeah, third house in Libra. So, like, third house in Libra being a rooster talks about him actually being, like, really good at singing. I'd buy, like, a Jason Bateman Christmas album or something, Valentine's Day album. Jason Bateman presents Valentine's Day songs. Um, and then Rooster, I believe in the myth of the Jade Emperor, is said to have ridden on the back of a raft or the back of the dragon, which he has a midheaven and Aries. Dragon is sometimes associated with Aries. Rooster is sometimes associated with the sign of Virgo. Chinese astrologers or lunar astrologers say that there is like zero correlation between the East and West zodiac. But that's just some connections that some people have made. And then, so if he actually is a monkey and not, or what is it? So let me look at what I know. Yeah, like 1992 is monkey, 1993 is rooster, 1991 is goat, and 1990 is horse. So that's how the Chinese zodiac goes. So if he actually is a monkey instead of being a rooster, um, it is my understanding through the myth of the Jade Emperor that it's a similar story because the monkey was on the same raft or riding on the back of the dragon to get to the Jade Emperor and cross whatever Yellow River or whatever was happening. Okay, so thank you so much for listening to me fanboy and fangirl over Jason Bateman. We are total Jason Bateman stans over here. Love him. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, subscribing, sharing this video with your favorite Capricorn, Capricorn rising Leo to tell them how similar they are to Jason Bateman. Sharing it with your younger cousin or family member who's just starting out on life. You'd be like, hey, look, like your chart is similar to Jason Bateman. You might be in Arrested Development one day. You might star in the Arrested Development movie one day. Way to go, you know? Or that, like, you know, life and success and fame and glamour is possible for you. Okay, so thank you for listening. I will see you in my next video. Bye.